Hello and welcome back to NUK310, the dark art of digital beauty work. I'm Nathaniel Westveer, and for the second class, we're going to start off with a little discussion. Now, formerly, I was at a modeling agency, and on Facebook, one of the models I used to work with posted her portfolio, and it's kind of common. A lot of models tell me that the agencies hire just horrible people to retouch their photos, and this one stood out. Now, I'm not gonna mention her name or anything, but this was on her agency's website, and it's just a classic example of not to do within digital beauty work, especially in the Photoshop world. I'm just gonna, ask you, what do you think is wrong with this? And through the rhetorical nature of me talking through the internet, I'm not really gonna hear your voices back until I look at the forums, but what really just bothers me is this. Let's look at the skin. Now, does this look like human skin on a face? Let's ignore that they took out, the bottom parts of her eyes right there, the concave and convex nature of it. Let's just look at it. What's this remind you of? Well, for me, it reminds me of cheap linoleum. We can see that, we have a highly reflective surface, but underneath that, there's hardly any depth to it. And worse, we see that fine hairs on the face, especially over here, are just sharpened. I mean, there's absolutely no need. I don't understand what this person's doing. We see, this has completely been flattened by the shading. I mean, you can light someone really flat, but I can just see. Typically, how this is gone about is blurring and high passing. Now, the way Adobe Photoshop has implemented it has caused artists to mathematically do it themselves, but the high process, say that 3 times fast, really just takes the difference between the skin and kind of just separates it from the shadows and the highlights. So what often the result is you pull the texture off in a grayscale image, and then you would blur the underlying layer beneath it. For some reason, especially in high fashion, this is the look people want to achieve. People want, people tell me, it's the China doll, porcelain look. It's not even appealing to me. I don't even know why they do this. Which, we're going to go into our next example. In computer graphics, what have we done to replicate photorealistic skin? Well, over the last decade, we have invented and improved upon what we call subsurface scattering. Now, what is subsurface scattering? Well, subsurface scattering takes a look at how light interacts with skin, and it just doesn't hit the skin and bounce off. Subsurface scattering says the translucent, waxy nature of skin and the way it interacts with light. Light will hit the surface, will go inside, bounce around, and exit out. At the same time, we see the specular nature of the surface of the skin also reflecting light. So we have 2 interactions skin has with light, and that is how the light bounces off the skin, and more importantly, how the light bounces within the skin and diffuses, tissues, and illuminates it very differently in these 2 different ways. And here we have another rendered image demonstrating how subsurface scattering really, interacts with tissues on a computer level. We can see how the color of the tissue influences light the further light goes within it. Now, this is kind of disturbing because it kind of looks like she has no bones in her body. It's more or less one big blob of tissue, but that gives us a little bit more insight just how light changes the more it travels through skin. Also see it in this more abstract example of lighting illuminating the inside and exiting objects, where this it's the concept is completely lost. And honestly, this is where the media goes in and says we are creating unrealistic standards for people, because people don't know. People don't really have the words to say put her skin back on her face. People can't say that. We just, they feel bad because they don't look inhuman like how artists typically treat photos like this. So what we're gonna aim to do, and what we will do, is treat skin like skin, and stay far away from blurring as we can. There's some great blurring techniques that will help you with the overall canvas of a skin. And we'll go over that. But for the most part, techniques like this, we're not going to touch these. So let's dive into NUK. Now, I chose this shot because it has a number of unique challenges that are pretty common what you'll face in the real world. So just real quickly, I want to just go through and maybe show you what an art director, or if, as a producer, what I would like to see out of the shot. So just let me grab my pen and let me get a good color. Turn my overlays on. So for one, the lighting is causing a bit of issues here, a little trouble. We see around the eyebrows, we have these two highlights paying off her forehead. It's good. We have shadowing on her forehead that gives it a little increase. Want to get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. We're gonna get rid of this over there, and we're starting not to see her face now because of this. So let me just grab these and do some additional ones on top. There. We also want to lessen this line right here. To get rid of that line. I don't like how, probably your producer would tell you this, I don't like how the shadow is so strong just above her lip. We'll get rid of that. This pockmark right here, we'll aim to get rid of that. We'll clean up some of the roughness on her chin. That's not helping her out any. Under eyes, they look pretty good. Under eyes, she doesn't look sleepy at all. Probably maybe we'll just kiss this right here. Other than that, that's about 17 different requests for that, and that'd be pretty much typical for overall beauty. There are much worse cases, but so looking at that, it's pretty much it for overall beauty for the shots. This shot, it's a linear pan. It's pretty constant motion. It's a great shot to dive into. There is a very common and challenge that this shot provides, and that is that it pans right off the side. So in the last class, we learned how we can take a brushstroke shape or anything and move it right over and offset skin on top of skin. This class will learn how to blend that, how get rid of these. When she moves off this, what if you're sampling over here for this, and now the data that you're sampling gets cut off right before the feature that you're moving gets cut off. That if it's panning down or pan like this, then you're gonna have to work around this. When you might get into maybe first 10 minutes of shot and then realize you didn't notice that the data that you were working with gets pushed right off, and then you have to do that, removing that feature again all over again. With that in mind, or you gotta find some, shift it some way around, and sometimes you could just work around it. I wouldn't advise animating an offset source. It's difficult to pull off. You could do it. Worst comes to worst, you could be really careful and you can pull it off. Oftentimes it just looks, you'll notice it and it'll look weird. So with this challenge in mind, let's dive in. Alright, so let's just jump into a clean comp. I've set a Rotopaint node down here, and just a quick thing to note is that a NUK9 has updated the O key, OHA over the viewport to represent the setting in and out points. I've already set my in and out points. This is just like a non-linear editor. You have the J, K, and L keys that toggle between playing forward and backwards and pause. It's like a non-linear editor. So with NUK Studio, we're seeing NUK adopt more of the mentality of working within editorial entity as well as a compositor. So I've set my in and out points where Angie moves on and off the screen, and we're going to make that visible. I want to real quickly just go into what we were talking about before. And we're going to set the foreground. There's a real quickly about that. Let's say I have a shape there. Move the shape above it. I go in this, and we grab our clone. Our clone's going to exist right over there. And we can see that what we're grabbing from is the rendered layer order below the shape, and we're moving it within the shape. So when you are on foreground as your source, that dictates your operating the foreground. Now, in the background, you completely bypass anything that happens in here. And you go and just grab the background source from there without any interruption from, we might have a paint here. Foreground, you build on top of everything so you can have a paint stroke and have something blending, and then blend on top of that to give it even further. Background, it's just completely just the source being fed in. So back, so let's make another shape. So we have our shape, and we're on foreground. Let's set the foreground. So our clone jumped over there again, and zoom back in, and let's see here, we set 0 about there, just to give us reference. Let's bear with it. So we're going to move over here. And already, as we move over to the source, on a previous frame, we might have been okay, because what we're grabbing from really was, just kind of our nose right there. As soon as that nose moves off there, we get a black shape. Now, if you could grab from this little area here, because we kind of see that it exists before it pops up, then you could completely work around that. And have to do a one frame cleanup there. Otherwise, you would want to look to clone directly down. So no X values. And just values in Y. Move that over. Now, this is a bit of a sequence, and before I painted out 17 different things we're going to address and fix. To fit everything into the class, I'm just going to work on a shortened version. The animation path will completely be the same throughout it. On either side, we'll address the issue, though, we just talked about. Within the time allotted, I just want to be able to make sure that I cover everything. So, let me see here. Let's work on 80, 65. So, let's just look at this. And what we have in beauty work is we have two different problems that we address. We address silhouette and we address blending issues. Everything we're going to address today will be involving blending issues. Let's just say, this is going to be fun. Angie has a gigantic zit on the side of her face. Let's just say, God forbid, something horrific happened right there. This would be a silhouette fix. In a way, already I'm poking holes in it because it is a bit of a bad example. Because we have a solid background, and by a solid background we could go in and clone this, given that our hair doesn't really change, but your brain's not going to really pick apart different texture hair moving out unless that highlight all of a sudden jumps down in there. Or we could maybe do something like this. A little bit cleaner to fix it up. But let's say, paint, we can't do a paint fix with this silhouette fix. And we would have to go in and warp it. Clear that. Now, what are we looking at when we look at this? Well, the only thing that really tells our brains that there's something there is the shadow and highlight right there. So what we need to address for all of this is shadow and highlights. So we're gonna go in and just get a close little brush and make sure we last a lifetime. Go in there, animate that. Toggle on off. And already we're starting to address the issue of that. Now we have the darker side. It's not letting me undo, which might be a bugger feature. Let's just, it's gonna be difficult this time. Let's just go over here and grab something like that. Let's lock that. All frames. Go in here and edit. And fade that in. Just fade it in until the shading, and let's edit that shape. So let's bring it down so I can see what we're doing. Might be a big brush right there. Just bring that in again. Just kiss that in. Now let's go and animate through out frame range. Already we're starting to see that we do that, or we could just do that. Select the node, hit D. See that we're taking down the shading quite a bit. This is quite the divot, and it won't go down easily, but through persistence we can just work on it. Feel it out, and grab that. Go in, fade it in. Already we're seeing it's almost there. We got this highlight here that's giving us some information that there's a divot there. Just kiss that in lightly. And you see what I did there. I just needed a darker color. And I just needed to use blending maps to just blend that in. it's something just really light. It was a much darker color, but through a very small value, we're able to blend it in with the rest of this. Let's go over the highlight again. Grab that, go over the highlight again. Not a good frame to go on. Grab that, over the highlight. Grab that, go over the highlight. It's irritating because it's not letting me right now undo grabs like that. Yeah, I swear it was letting me do this earlier. So right now we see that we are just about there. Maybe just a little bit. See if we can grab a better spot there. And we see here, we then just take this last edge here and blend it in. And take that. Last little bit right there. The very end. And we can see we still just got this little rough patch right about there. Let's go ahead and let's just dress this right here. Now we never really want to take down facial lines completely. We're not trying for the skin look that might resemble bad plastic surgery where the skin's pulled back so tight, lines are just not there. I mean, have you ever seen something like that? Possibly Joan Rivers. It just looks very unnatural. So we're just gonna go, and we're just gonna make sure we don't touch the rest of our work. And we're just gonna come in there. All frames. I know there's all frames up there. I never think of that. So, right now we are reducing. Now we're kind of creating a little line right there. So, and we're gonna watch what we do with the nose right there. Maybe we're just gonna bring it down a little. We're gonna hit the ripple key, which is gonna offset all points, so it travels through keyframes. See how we have 2 keyframes and it's extended out like that? Yeah, it's starting to work out. Let's go to the end. And we have reduced it. Maybe we're just going to hit that a little harder. It's starting to look a little weird there. And sometimes it's just, you run into very subjective things. This part of it seems a little more intense. So I'm just going to grab that. And lock that. And this can take care of that in 2 parts right there. Just kind of diffuse it a bit. Just lighten it up a bit. That may have been, let's just do that. Let's reassess this. So reset our out point. So we can go in here. Frame 82. Let's see here. There we go. Now, I know, some of you are maybe used to really tight roto. This can be really forgiving, especially with skin. It can and cannot. It all depends on the circumstance. But generally, skin on skin, something sliding about a pixel or 2 is not going to be detected at all. And it's just wasted effort to go in there and really, do picky animation when you play back and you don't see, you can't detect anything. So. And we see we're starting to affect that right there. Let's go over to this side of the face. I got this. Yeah, I added something by clicking there. And we're always careful not to grab part of the nose. Because a lot of times you're going to be working on a shot and you're going to grab part of the nose and bring it in there. So let's just get care of this. Stroke. See, now we're hitting the nose. It can be forgivable. Your producer may not be happy if they go through it and A/B test it, but it can be forgivable. So there's not really a hard line right there to tell the brain that there's frame. There's paint stroking. Or we'll ripple edit if that doesn't work out. Well, we'll just take that and ripple edit, like we said. And then throughout the sequence, we don't have that problem anymore. So we've managed to take that down. Let's just play with it, bring that out. And now, let's kind of play through the sequence. Yes. Now let's address these highlights right here. Let's take that. Just blend it in. It's all about blending. Let's take our shape, make it match it. I may have to bring back the eyebrows. It might be the easiest thing on this route. And we see my source went off the frame. So we're going to go back to our clone, grab it, control, click, drag. Go over to make sure we're grabbing it and that. Move that over. Move that up a bit so we don't see. That stays like that. Let's go back and ripple edit. Turn ripple off. And we're just starting to take that down. Yeah, let's just plan on bringing the eyebrows back on that one. So remember the background source? Well, let's just go ahead and use that right now. Let's paint over the eyebrows, simplify our shape. Go ahead and use that. Now we brought back our eyebrows. You also can use the reveal tool, but something more simplistic about the paint. There you go, we brought back our eyebrows. A-B it. We also can let's go and pull that out. Take our viewer, wipe, go to paint 4. Make sure we pull that up there. Read 10. And now, this is how you create an A-B situation through the wipe. And you can do various degrees of it. Take away that. That's why we're moved off the frame that things were animating on. So you can kind of see this process of our paint strokes and work we're doing here. Let's go down and let's hit this little pock mark right there. And we're gonna maybe approach that from, we have a lot of darkness here. Let's just hit that highlight right there. Maybe we're gonna have to resource this, but let's see what we can do. Kind of bring that highlight down, flatten that out, so take that crease down. Let's use some blending math right there. Blending, soft light, move it up. So for this next part, I'm just going to speed things up, and instead of just cutting to the end and giving you a file, I want to have you follow along and see how I'm doing things, what I'm looking for, the techniques I'm using. We've covered a lot of what I'm doing. It's just repeating that, but also it's identifying problem areas and addressing them. So here I am. I'm just taking, I'm working on the edges of the mouth right now, and I'm going down to a little bit to that fold, kind of folds right up there, and taking down the highlight. So I sampled from a much darker spot right there, and I'm able just to blend that just out nicely. And right now I'm just animating that through. On off, on off. Now I'm just going back and going back to the little bit of the under eye there that we talked about. And I'm just blending in, there's a little bit of that little crease right there, and just making that shadow look a little nicer. And the additional little, divot, I, if I was being mean, I would call it a crater, but and we have called those craters, but it's small. We'll call it a little divot, and now I'm just going back to addressing the larger highlight right there. Going back, kind of just evening out the shadowing on the chin, and just kind of flatten that out a little bit more. Going back and hitting again that line, that fine crease line right there. Just softening that up. And again, around the mouth area, there's just a lot of like really fleshy area. It's not nothing. It's not really anything that's really hard and concrete. It's just kind of fleshiness that it's just can be brought down and made more aesthetically pleasing. And sometimes you just grab it just a little bit wrong. Now we're really starting to see quite before and after here, and we're going to take that even further. And we're just returning back to the chin area, just cleaning that up a little bit more. And now we're kind of just jacking the chin. We're going to hit the little shadow, and after that, we're just going to hit the highlight. And hitting the highlight, cleaning up my shape. Just bringing down the overall shininess of that highlight right there. I found this crease really tricky just to get very naturalistically looking. And already it's gone just a little too far, but I want to take it a little too far and then just bring it back afterwards. And you'll see that will reveal back on top of it. And here we go. We're using a paint stroke, and we could use reveal tool for this, but we're just taking that and feeding in our background source, which ignores the layers, and blending that back on top of everything, just so we can just get that nice natural looking, feel to it. And we're kind of creating a V shape just to kind of go into the brow area where we have some shadowing, and let's blend things out. Alright, so hopefully I fast forward through all of that. And hopefully you kept along. It's video work, shots like this can be a lot of fine detailed work. I wanted to really express, I wanted to have you really just watch what I was doing and just understand how I was going about, how I was identifying problem areas, identifying areas that are a little bit more fleshy, had a little bit of shadow. I had brought some highlights down, brought back the cheek lines right there, and was able to really, just a little thing here, oh no, it's not, just really get in there and clean things up and transform Angie in this shot from having, a few things we wanted to fix to, getting pretty close. I hope you take this shot further than I do. I'm really glad, and I really hope that you just really, dive in and really, just familiarize yourself with painting, animating, and there is almost an unconscious skill set what happens with anime. You'll just kind of, a lot of these things will be able to be really faint, and your brain might not be able to track it right away. Your brain will be able to get stronger at identifying patterns and learn and just follow them easier from frame to frame the more you do this. It's when you're first starting out to do this, if you're a little bit new at this, it's a bit of a brain exercise to have your brain identify and find patterns. So I remember that was when I first got into this. I was taking classes at fxphd. I knew NUK, but then I just realized it's just a skill I have never learned before, and it's a brain exercise to have your brain follow patterns like that throughout the frame, throughout the plate. So let's just go back, and we got about 49 clone strokes in there, and it's getting pretty close. So, and just get in there. You're not going to get everything in one stroke. You're going to have to probably, attack it from a couple different angles. And hopefully you'll have fun, and that comes to the end of this week. Alright, well, I'll see you in the forums, and I'm excited for next week. Alright, see you then.